Hello, and welcome to Tales for Life. In each episode of this podcast, we'll explore a folk or fairy tale from a different culture or region and discover the life lessons, values, and morals they offer that we can use today. Join me on the journey through the magical and meaningful world of folk and fairy tales. Thank you for being here, and welcome to another episode of Tales for Life, the podcast that journeys through life one tale at a time. Today we're going to take a wee bit of a break from the usual theme of the show to pay a small tribute to what has come to be one of the most fun days of the year, St. Patrick's Day, with one of my favorite Irish tales in an episode I've titled, Beware the Leprechaun. Despite the religious origins of St. Patrick's Day, he is a saint after all. The day has now become an opportunity to cut loose and have a little fun. And of course, when you talk Ireland and fun, you can't help but think of some of their magical creatures whose presence is known worldwide, such as the Banshee, Puka, and the Leprechaun. And when it comes to leprechauns, well, there's gold. Should you happen to catch a leprechaun, you can get that pot of gold and become rich. But that's the trick. For leprechauns are some of the trickiest creatures alive. It's a rare person indeed who can match wits with one of these fair folk. There are hundreds upon hundreds of stories about leprechauns, but one of my favorites is a well-known one that shows how the wee folk can be caught, but still manage to put one over on the rest of us anyway. It's called The Field of Bullions. Tom Fitzpatrick was the eldest son of a comfortable farmer who lived at Ballincollig. Tom was just turned of 9 and 20 when he met the following adventure, and was as clever, clean, tight, good-looking a boy as any in the whole county Cork. One fine day in harvest, it was indeed Lady Day in harvest, that everybody knows to be one of the greatest holidays in the year, Tom was taking a ramble through the ground, and went sauntering along the sunny side of a hedge, thinking in himself where it would be the great harm if people, instead of idling and going about doing nothing at all, were to shake out the hay and bind and stack the oats that was lying on the ledge, especially as the weather had been rather broken of late. He all of a sudden heard a clacking sort of noise a little before him in the hedge. "Dear me," said Tom, "but isn't it surprising to hear the stone chatters singing so late in the season?" So Tom stole on, going on the tops of his toes to try if he could get a sight of what was making the noise to see if he was right in his guess. The noise stopped, but as Tom looked sharply through the bushes, what should he see in a nook of the hedge but a brown pitcher that might hold 1.5 gallons of liquor, and by, a little wee deeny-donny bit of an old man, with a little moddy of a cocked hat stuck upon the top of his head, and a deeshy-doshy leather apron hanging before him, pulled out a little wooden stool, and stood up upon it, and dipped a little piggin into the pitcher, and took out the full of it, and put it beside the stool, and then sat down under the pitcher, and began to work at putting a heel piece on a bit of a brogue just fitting for himself. "Well, by the powers," said Tom to himself, "I often heard tell of the leprechaun, and to tell God's truth I never rightly believed in them, but here's one of them in real earnest. If I go knowingly to work, I'm a made man. They say a body must never take their eyes off them or they'll escape." Tom now stole on a little farther with his eye fixed on the little man, just as a cat does with the mouse, or, as we read in books, the rattlesnake does with the birds he wants to enchant. So when he got up quite close to him, "God bless your work, neighbor," said Tom. The little man raised up his head and, "Thank you kindly," said he. "I wonder you'd be working on the holiday," said Tom. "That's my own business, not yours," was the reply. "Well, maybe you'd be civil enough to tell us what you've got in the pitcher there," said Tom. "That I will, with pleasure," said he. "It's good beer." "Beer!" said Tom. "Thunder and fire, where'd you get it?" "Where did I get it, is it? Why, I made it. And what do you think I made it of?" "Devil a one of me knows," said Tom. "But a malt, I suppose. What else?" "There you're out. I made it of heath." "Of heath!" said Tom, bursting out laughing. "Sure you don't think me to be such a fool as to believe that?" "Do as you please," said he, "but what I tell you is the truth. Did you never hear tell of the Danes?" "And that I did," said Tom. "Weren't them the fellows we gave such a licking when they thought to take Limerick from us?" "Him," said the little man dryly. "Is that all you know about the matter?" "Well, but about them Danes?" said Tom. "Why, all about them there is that when they were here they taught us to make beer out of the heath, and the secret's in my family ever since." "Will you give a body a taste of your beer?" said Tom. "I'll tell you what it is, young man. It'd be fitter for you to be looking after your father's property than to be bothering decent, quiet people with your foolish questions. There now, while you're idling away your time here, there's the cows that broke into the oats and are knocking the corn all about." Tom was taken so by surprise with this that he was just on the very point of turning round when he recollected himself. So, afraid that the like might happen again, he made a grab at the Leprechaun and caught him up in his hand. But in his hurry he overset the pitcher and spilt all the beer, so that he could not get a taste of it to tell what sort it was. He then swore what he would do to him if he did not show him where his money was. Tom looked so wicked and so bloody-minded that the little man was quite frightened. So, says he, "Come along with me a couple of fields off, and I'll show you a crock of gold." So they went, and Tom held the Leprechaun fast in his hand and never took his eyes from off him, though they had to cross hedges and ditches and a crooked bit of bog, for the Leprechaun seemed out of pure mischief to pick out the hardest and most contrary way, till at last they came to a great field all full of boliauns, and the Leprechaun pointed to a big boliaun, and, says he, "Dig under that boliaun, and you'll get the great crock all full of guineas." Tom, in his hurry, had never minded the bringing a spade with him, so he thought to run home and fetch one, and that he might know the place again, he took off one of his red garters and tied it round the boliaun. "I suppose," said the Leprechaun very civilly, "you've no farther occasion for me?" "No," says Tom. "You may go away now, if you please, and God speed you, and may good luck attend you wherever you go." "Well, goodbye to you, Tom Fitzpatrick," said the Leprechaun, "and much good may do you with what you'll get." So Tom ran for the dear life till he came home and got a spade, and then away with him, as hard as he could go, back to the field of boliauns. But when he got there, lo and behold, not a boliaun in the field but had a red garter, the very identical model of his own, tied about it. And as to digging up the whole field, that was all nonsense, for there was more than 40 good Irish acres in it. So Tom came home again with his spade on his shoulder, a little cooler than he went, and many's the hearty curse he gave the Leprechaun every time he thought of the neat turn he had served him. I hope you have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day and a fantastic week ahead. May you fare much better than Tom Fitzpatrick should you ever encounter a leprechaun. Keep your eyes peeled and your ears tuned for the magic that surrounds us every day. Until next time, stay curious, stay enchanted, and we'll see you on the next episode of Tales for Life.